Chernobyl, the night the reactor exploded. Part 1. The night the world changed. In just a few days, the world will mark 40 years since the Chernobyl disaster. 40 years. And still, people hear that name and feel fear. Because Chernobyl was not just an accident, it was a night the world changed forever. What if you were sleeping peacefully and, without knowing it, a nuclear reactor had already exploded nearby? No loud warning in your home, no message on your phone, no sirens telling you the truth, just silence, an invisible death in the air. On April 26, 1986, at 1:23 in the morning, Reactor Number 4 at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant exploded. Not a small fire, not a simple mechanical failure. An explosion so powerful, it ripped open the reactor itself. The roof was destroyed. Burning radioactive material flew into the night sky. A deadly cloud began to rise over the Soviet Union, and then over Europe. People did not see it. They did not smell it. They did not understand it. But it was already there, in the air, on the ground, on clothes, on skin, in lungs. That is what makes Chernobyl so terrifying. The danger was invisible, and for many people, the truth was hidden. This was not only a technological disaster, it was also a human disaster. A story of mistakes, a story of secrecy, a story of fear, and a story of people sent into danger without truly understanding what they were facing. The city near the plant was called Pripyat, a young Soviet city, modern for its time, full of workers, families, and children. People there believed they were living near progress, near science, near the future. But on that night, the future exploded, and while families slept in their apartments, while children dreamed in their beds, the reactor was already burning. Firefighters were called. Engineers ran in confusion. Officials hesitated, and radiation began to spread. Fast, silent, merciless. For the people of Pripyat, the worst part came first. They did not know. They woke up the next morning. They walked outside. They looked at the sky. Some even watched the strange glow from the plant during the night. It looked beautiful, but beauty can be deadly, and sometimes the most dangerous things in history are the ones you cannot see. Very soon, men would walk onto that roof. Very soon, firefighters would touch radioactive debris with bare hands. Very soon, children would keep playing outside, under a poisoned sky. And almost nobody understood yet that they were standing at the beginning of one of the worst nuclear disasters in human history. If you want to learn real history and improve your English at the same time, you're in the right place. Because this story is only beginning. Part 2. The morning no one understood. The most terrifying part of Chernobyl was not the explosion. It was the morning after, because people woke up and lived normal lives. In Pripyat, the city near the reactor, families got out of bed, parents made breakfast, children got dressed, workers prepared for the day, people opened windows. They walked outside. They talked to neighbors. Some even looked toward the power plant. And what they saw was strange. A glow, smoke. Something was wrong, but nobody told them the truth. That silence was deadly. The explosion had happened just hours earlier. Reactor Number 4 was still burning. Radiation was already spreading through the air, across streets, across buildings, across playgrounds, across schools, across the clothes people were wearing. But radiation does not look dangerous. It has no face, no sound, no warning. And that made Chernobyl even more horrifying. Some people in Pripyat said they saw a strange light in the night sky. Some children were curious. Some adults stood outside and watched the fire from a distance. They did not know they were being poisoned. They did not know that every minute outside mattered. The city should have been evacuated immediately, but it was not. Officials waited. They hesitated. They feared panic. They feared bad news. And in the Soviet system, bad news was often hidden. So the people stayed for hour after hour under an invisible cloud. Children played outside. Families walked through the city. People went on with their mourning as if nothing had happened. But something had happened. Something catastrophic. At the plant, firefighters and workers were already collapsing. Some felt dizzy. Some vomited. Some had headaches. Some felt a strange metallic taste in their mouths. Their skin burned. Their bodies were already reacting to deadly radiation. And still, many leaders refused to understand how serious it was. Or maybe they understood and were too afraid to say it. That is one of the darkest truths of Chernobyl. Not only did the reactor explode, truth exploded too. And in the hours after the disaster, silence became part of the tragedy. By the time the city would finally be evacuated, thousands of people had already been exposed, and many still believed they would return home in a few days. They had no idea. Their city was already becoming a ghost city. Part 3. The firefighters walked into death. When the firefighters arrived, they thought it was a normal fire. That was the tragedy. They were brave. They were fast. And they had no idea what they were walking into. After the explosion, flames were rising from the plant. Burning debris was everywhere. Pieces of the reactor had been thrown across the roof. Some of that debris looked like black stones, but they were not stones. They were pieces of the reactor core, and they were deadly. The firefighters climbed ladders. They ran across hot metal. They sprayed water on the flames. They touched radioactive material with bare hands. No special suits. No real protection. No one told them the truth. Many of them were young, strong, disciplined. They believed they were saving the plant, saving the city, but in reality, they were stepping into invisible death. Very quickly, strange symptoms began. A metallic taste in the mouth, burning skin, dizziness, vomiting, weakness. Some men could barely stand. Some collapsed. Still, many kept working, because that is what heroes do. And that is what makes this part so heartbreaking. They were not running away. They were moving toward danger, toward heat, toward poison, toward radiation so powerful. Their bodies were being destroyed in real time. The fire looked ordinary, but it was not ordinary. This was not smoke alone. This was a nuclear fire, and for the first responders, the cost was terrible. Some of those men would die days later. Others would suffer in hospitals. Their names would become part of Chernobyl's painful history. They were among the first to pay the price, and they paid it without even knowing what had truly happened. While they fought the flames, the reactor was still open to the sky, still burning, still releasing radiation. And the disaster was far from over, because now the Soviet Union faced a terrifying question. How do you stop a reactor that has already exploded? Part 4. The city left too late. How do you leave your home when nobody tells you the truth? That was the horror in Pripyat. For more than a day after the explosion, People stayed. They walked the streets. They stood on balconies. They let children play outside, all while radiation spread through the city, silent, invisible, deadly. Then finally, on April 27th, the buses arrived, hundreds of them. Long lines of buses entered Pripyat. The city could see something serious was happening now. People were told to prepare quickly, but even then, they were not told the full truth. Officials made a calm announcement. They said the evacuation would be temporary, just a few days. Take only the essentials, documents, some clothes, a little food. That was all. People believed them. Why wouldn't they? Many locked their doors carefully. Some left dishes on the table. Some left toys in children's rooms. Some left books open. Some left laundry unfinished. They thought they would come back soon, in 3 days. That is one of the saddest details of Chernobyl. Most of them never returned. Families climbed onto buses. Children sat by windows. Parents carried bags. Old people looked back at their buildings. Many were confused. Many were scared. But few understood how permanent this moment really was. They were not just leaving for a short trip. They were saying goodbye to their lives. And then there were the pets, dogs, cats, animals left behind in empty apartments and silent streets. Many families wanted to take them, but they were told no, leave them, move quickly. For many survivors, that memory never left them. The buses rolled away, street by street, building by building. Pripyat slowly emptied. A city full of life became quiet. Playgrounds, schools, parks, homes, everything remained. But the people were gone, and behind them, the reactor was still burning. The danger was still growing, because evacuating the city was only the beginning. Now the Soviet Union had to face an even bigger nightmare. If the reactor kept burning, the disaster could become far worse. Part 5. The men who faced the reactor. The city was empty, but the danger was not over. In fact, it was getting worse. Reactor number 4 was still burning, still open to the sky, still releasing radiation into the air. And now experts feared something even more terrifying: a second explosion. If the molten nuclear fuel reached water below the reactor, the blast could be catastrophic, much worse than the first one, maybe powerful enough to spread even more radiation across Europe. That possibility terrified everyone. So the Soviet Union needed men to do the impossible. Not machines, not robots, men. First came the helicopter crews. They flew directly above the burning reactor. Imagine that, a reactor on fire below you, radiation rising into the air, and still they flew over it again and again. They dropped sand, lead, clay, boron, anything they hoped might slow the fire. Then came the workers on the ground, engineers, soldiers, miners, liquidators, thousands of them. Some were sent to clear radioactive debris. Some were sent to dig tunnels under the reactor. Some were sent onto rooftops where radiation levels were so extreme. Even machines failed. Robots broke down, so men had to replace them for seconds at a time. Just seconds. Run out, grab debris, throw it off the roof, run back. That was the job. A few seconds could change a life forever. And still they did it. This is one of the most haunting parts of Chernobyl. The reactor had become too dangerous for technology, so human bodies became the solution. Many of these men knew the risk, some did not. Some were told very little. Some were simply ordered. But they went. Because if they failed, the disaster might become even worse. Much worse. Chernobyl was no longer just one explosion. It had become a battle against fire, against radiation, against time itself. And the men sent into that battle would carry the cost for the rest of their lives. Part 6. 40 years later, we still remember. The fire was eventually controlled, but Chernobyl did not end that night. It stayed in the land, in the air, in the bodies of the people who were exposed, and in history. Pripyat became a ghost city. Apartments stood empty. Schools stayed silent. Toys were left behind. Parks stopped laughing. An entire city was frozen in time. Around the reactor, a large exclusion zone was created, a place too dangerous for normal life, a place people had to leave behind. But the damage went far beyond one city. Radiation spread across borders, across countries, across Europe. And for a time, many people still did not know the truth. That is one reason Chernobyl still shocks the world. It was not only a nuclear disaster, it was also a disaster of silence, of secrecy, of delay, and of human cost. Firefighters, workers, liquidators, families, children. So many lives were changed forever. Some died quickly, others suffered for years. Many carried invisible damage no one could see, and that may be the most terrifying part of all. Chernobyl proved that the most dangerous things in history are not always loud. Sometimes they are silent, sometimes they are invisible, and sometimes the truth comes too late. Now, nearly 40 years later, the name Chernobyl still means one thing: a warning. A warning about power without caution, about technology without honesty, about leaders who hide the truth, and about ordinary people who pay the price. If you want to keep learning powerful history while improving your English, stay with Spin a Yarn English, because the next story may be different, but the lesson is often the same. History always leaves a warning.
Thanks! Please subscribe and like. Spin a new yarn with us every week. See you there!